Hey folks, Steve here. Happy 2023. This video is going to be a little bit of a level set and a check-in video. It will primarily be audio based. I'm not going to appear on camera. I may take my camera here around the room a little bit to show a couple of things maybe to come. But if you want to put this on in the background, you're doing something else, washing some dishes, doing some other thing, this video will probably work great in the background. Not sure how long this will fully last, but I do expect this to be a decently long video because we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. Some of the gaming stuff in my space, and then some personal stuff to help kind of talk about what else is going to go on in 2023 as it regards to this channel and kind of what's going on with me. So keep that in mind. And if we start to stray into topics that you don't care as much about, I don't mind if you click around, skip ahead, or duck out of the video. This is going to be easy breezy stuff, hopefully, today. So I know that it has been over a month since my last upload where I was talking about the GMT sale, and before that, it had been like a month since the last Nations in Arms video, and things have been pretty hectic in that time period, which has led to me not really uploading anything. But you can see just on the bottom part of your screen, if you're watching on the YouTube video, I still have it set up. In fact, it is precisely where I left it those 2 months ago, with the 1795 turn starting to get underway, and I'm still working the production phase, but I had basically hit a pause, and it is sat basically perfectly still in the game room here for 2 months. I feel very fortunate, and maybe I should have done this video, back around Thanksgiving so I could give proper, Thanksgiving for how fortunate I am that I have a dedicated game room where I have the luxury to set up something and just leave it completely still for 2 months or more with no one coming into this room but basically me. So I count myself very fortunate, very lucky to have that luxury. Um, so what have I been up to? Well, oh, there's my computer making noises. I have been very busy, extremely busy, and I'll sort of talk about here how busy I'm going to be for the next little while here. So I had mentioned it in a status update, and maybe not everyone saw it, but the month of December was really weird for me. It was very almost difficult, is the way I would describe it. December. And of course, we're doing this video on January 2nd, so this is all very kind of recent history. But um, basically, my busyness has kept me from recording. Not that I haven't had some amount of free time to do the things that I want to do, but it has been very, right size blocked to doing certain types of activities. So, getting a chance to upload videos, to do more YouTube content, very, very difficult. If you try to look at the time that you have as a pie chart and you try to figure out, how big of a piece does everything get, you knock out a third, assuming you get decent night's sleep, that's a third right away. Um, I'm a family man. I have a wife, and I'm a husband and a father. So, a huge amount of time is for that. I am a working professional in a role of leadership and guidance, and so when I'm working, it's not just the 40 hours a week. It's often more than that, and there's a lot of things outside of the immediate workday that I need to focus on. It's truly a career, not just a job for me, and so that takes a huge amount of time. And then I am still actively in grad school, which is, you can imagine, a whole other set of time. Doing required readings for classes, doing individual assignments, doing group assignments, which, if any folks have had a recent experience with that, that's always a difficult thing sometimes. So I've been busy with all of that, and what I was really hoping for in December was to get away from school, because there was a break in the grad school program around December timeframe, and then I was taking some time off work, thinking, hey, I'm going to have some extra time. I'm going to be doing family stuff, but I should be able to find an opportunity to really bang out some Nations in Arms, maybe look at some other stuff. And that did not happen, because I think it was like 30 hours after I took off of work and I was done with school for the rest of the year in December, the beginning part of December. And I was really pumped and primed because I had gone through a bunch of stuff, getting through Thanksgiving and getting to December, where I was really getting ready to rock out. My family got COVID. Now, we were vaccinated and boosted and all that stuff, so it really wasn't too bad. I still cough every once in a while, but that's maybe just normal, weather changing stuff. But we weren't too bad. We weren't feeling too bad. There was definitely a week there where we weren't feeling good, and really it was worse because we were, not my wife and I weren't feeling good, and we were looking after our kid. And when your kid's sick, that's just the worst because you can only do so much for them, and they're just suffering through it. Um, and so we were kind of dealing with that, and and that really had also disrupted a lot of family plan stuff we wanted to do in December, because we isolated and all of that. We weren't feeling good, and my morale was in the crapper because so many disappointments, and then not feeling good. And it was like if I was going to record, it was going to be with a bad voice, and I was feeling like crap, and I couldn't even fathom trying to do a video of any sort at that point. And of course now we're recovered and we're feeling better. So it just made for a really weird time. And then we had the holidays, Christmas, and New Year's here, and just couldn't really get away. So I had in my mind this idea that, hey, December is going to be this dynamite couple of weeks, and I would get to play a bunch of different stuff, and I'd be churning out videos like crazy. And it just didn't happen. It just didn't work out that way. A lot of other disappointing things, and it sucked. It was not great, but hopefully we'll get better. One of the nice things that occurred over the last 2 months is that, in addition to going to grad school and working and family stuff and all this, I had passed a professional certification exam, that I've had my eyes on for years, and I never got around to doing it. And I went and did it, and I passed the exam with flying colors, kicked its ass, and I feel good about that. And not that that really has anything to do with wargaming, but just so you guys know, like, my life has been full of stuff, and even Napoleon cannot get my attention against all of those other things. Now, looking ahead into 2023, here we are, brand new year. Are we ready to have some fun? Well, I still have a lot on my plate. So basically, the first half of this year, I do not expect there to be a great number of videos coming out onto the channel. I'm in, if I do my math right here, I'm in basically the last 6 months of grad school, which means that around the June, July timeframe, I should get a lot of my life back. And that will mean I should be able to do a lot more videos more frequently and more often, and hopefully with a lot more variety. But the thing that sucks is that these last 6 months of grad school are going to probably be the most intense months of the program I'm in, which means it will be very hard to do videos very frequently. I just don't know what it's going to look like. It's really going to come down to, how much is work wearing me out versus the schoolwork. Will I be able to get ahead of the schoolwork enough that I can take days off of doing schoolwork and do some videos? All that kind of stuff is going to factor in. So, I don't want to get folks' hopes up. There's going to be this period where I am still very, very busy. There are still games that I want to be playing both on and off the channel, and I'll talk about what shape that's going to take here in this video very soon. But it's still going to be a tough time yet for me, guys. So just, if you're wondering where I'm at, again, been super busy. It's been a mixed bag of good things and not so good things. I'm hoping 2023 will be a rock solid year. It's just the first half will be very intense for me still until I can get through the grad school thing, and then the pressure should be off in a lot better fashion. Now, the funny thing is, despite me not playing games very much, I'm still buying games, or I'm acquiring games. And I may take an opportunity in this video to kind of pan around the game room a little bit and talk about what are the things that I would like to do or what is to come here on the channel. A lot of pre-orders have been coming in, and in other games that I've purchased that I did want to get and have gotten have come in, even if I'm not able to play anything. But it's going to be, I hope, a good year when I get to the actual gaming. And I still intend to play through the rest of Nations in Arms in its totality if I can. So that means finishing the last couple of years of the War of the First Coalition, playing the much shorter Suvorov's campaign, then the Marengo campaign, and then we'll do probably an 1805 through 1814 campaign. Maybe we'll get Waterloo in there too. There is a Waterloo type of campaign in Nations in Arms that you can play. So definitely some things. I still want to do that. I still, I've intended to do that. I think once I get back on a roll consistently, we'll be banging videos out very quickly. It's just going to be a matter of, can I get to that role? And again, the grad school thing is going to be a really big element of whether or not that happens or to what degree. Couple of other things for the future that I'm actually pretty excited about. So, and I'll state my feeling of fortunateness. I'm very fortunate. I'm a fortunate person. I know that the cliche is that, and if there's any women watching, I'm going to apologize, because this is just the feeling I get amongst some of my friends or amongst some people in the gaming community that are men, that, getting a new war game, kind of gets the, finger wag from their significant other, because it's money expenditure. It's, do you really need that game? Is this a game that's going to sit on your shelf? I'm very fortunate in that my wife, my partner, she is very, very cool with me buying what games I want to buy, because this is my thing. This is, I have a good job. We have the things that we need. So if I say, hey, I'm getting a game, I can do that. I might not even say that I'm getting a game. I'm just buying a game and it shows up, and she doesn't bat an eye. She knows I'm picking stuff up, and whatever. But one of the other things is that she does play some games with me, which is really cool. And she's sort of adopted board gaming as an additional hobby of hers among things that she's interested in. And she encouraged me to order one of those cool gaming tables. So I'm sure you can imagine the ones I'm talking about, the ones that are like really fancy and have like an ingress to them and boards you put on top. So, your dinner table turns into your board gaming table, and you can put a game inside the table and put the boards on top and pick it up later. Well, we ordered one. We're going to get one. I don't know when it's going to arrive, because it takes time to put, to be made, handcrafted, and then sent and delivered and all this stuff. So it could actually be quite a while before I get that table. It will not be in the game room that you would see on camera now, or if you were looking at your screen. It will be in the more common parts of where we live, and will effectively be a new dinner table. But the fun thing will be we'll be able to set up games inside of that. And then what that's going to allow me to do for the channel that we've not done before, that I've not done before. When I say we, I guess I really mean me, because I'm the person that runs the channel and does everything on the channel. I will be able to set up certain games that in the past I simply could not do, that I play with my wife. And my wife will play games. She will play card-driven games with me. She will play certain war games, coin games, a variety of different games that I can, we agree, like, hey, yeah, we'll play this one. We'll figure it out. I'll teach her the rules. We'll play it. We'll try it out. And we would play games in when our kids taking a nap, we'd try to play a game. In the evenings we would try. But the problem is, we would have to pack the game up and kind of get it moved away. And it was really hard to play something that took longer. And it was a real fight for, is the amount of time we're putting in worth it to play the game or to try to learn the game if we're just going to have to package it back up again. So when we get this fancy table, I will be able to set up certain games and play them with my wife, and we can play that game across days or weeks, however long we want, as long as the game is set up inside the table. And the table's got pretty good dimensions. When it shows up, I'll show it on video, and you guys will see things. But the interesting thing of that will be, there are games that I have played off camera, with my wife, just playing whatever, different games. But because we're playing it, I'm not getting out my phone, I'm not taking videos of it, stuff that you guys really don't see. Maybe I might take pictures and post them every once in a while on the channel feed. Well, now with the table being an option when it arrives, whenever that might be, it's going to be sometime this year, is about all I know at this point. When it arrives, I will be able to do some video commentary on the games that we're playing, and I'll have enough sort of stability to that game being set up, that, much like it is in this game room here, that I'll be able to talk about more stuff than I might have otherwise talked about. So, really the videos on this channel are my solitaire stuff. This happens to be the stuff I'm playing solitaire in the game room and leaving up for a long period of time. It's just me tinkering or playing solo or whatever. Well, this will allow me to do some video coverage of opposed games, games that might be harder to do solo or at least are just a little bit different, games that I wouldn't necessarily want to play solitaire but are more fun opposed. And if I'm playing them opposed, I'll have it set up. I'll be able to get the camera out, show what's happening, talk about it, and do a little bit more interactive stuff that way over time, which I think would be very cool. So that could be a change. There's a lot, you guys have seen me mostly play hex and counter stuff on the channel. This kind of breaks open an opportunity to talk about some of the card-driven games that I have. If you end up looking at the back, my shelves back there, you might notice that I do have a number of card-driven games, and I really do enjoy them. They're a lot of fun. We'll be able to talk about them a little bit more than we have in the past, which I think is very cool. So something to look forward to there for sure. Now, there's a few other things that I do want to talk about in terms of what games I'm looking at to play. Again, in some format that will appear on the channel. It might be 6 months before they do. I really don't know. It's going to be really tricky to understand when all this is going to occur. But we're going to go a little bit mobile with the camera. If you're just listening to the audio, this won't be of much value to you. But if you're watching on the actual video feed on YouTube, we're going to get a little shaky cam and we're going to move around the room a little bit. But so we still have Nations in Arms. Again, still exactly where it was 2 months ago. Nothing's changed. But for Christmas, we'll get situated here. Someday I'm going to do a room tour. I did get 2 games from Compass that were on sale. South China Sea and its sequel game, Indian Ocean Region. This was one of those situations, again, very fortunate with my wife. My wife asking me, I'm hard to get gifts for Christmas. So it was very much a like, well, here, why don't I pick out these 2 games that are on sale? And when the package arrived, she scurried off with it and wrapped the game. So when I opened up a gift on Christmas, I had 2 new war games. These are using the same system. I don't know if they're referring to this as the South China Sea system, but I guess it is. I did not do unboxing videos of these guys. I ended up opening them up over the course of the December break of mine, or that week after Christmas. And I've actually punched all the counters and I've organized them. And I'm sorry to say, guys, you're missing out. I actually messed around with one of the scenarios from Indian Ocean Region, Solitaire, just to kind of get a feel for the game, because it was like, hey, that's just right in front of me, and I'm reading the rule book, and I read the whole rule book, and I understand how to play these games, and I have to say I do like the systems in it. It's nothing overly complex. But they are neat little games, and it's all, it's modern, it's hypothetical, it's conflicts between the U.S. and China, usually, though the Indian Ocean region has a lot more other countries involved, like Iran, that makes it so that you can set up really interesting sort of geopolitical situations. So I would like to do more of that and actually do it on camera, especially now that I know the rules. And I plunked away at one of the scenarios and had a good time with it and sort of experimented with how everything works. I think this is a cool little system. Someone's going to ask or want to compare it to Next War, and I'll just say right off the bat that Next War is at a different scale. So in terms of the map coverage, it's not a good example. I don't want to bust all the maps out, but you can look it up on Board Game Geek or something. It's much more zoomed out from GMT's Next War series, and it is primarily a naval and air game, where Next War is a ground air game, right? So like Next War, air matters a whole lot. It's really important. It's a big feature of that game system when you're playing the advanced game. This is, air matters a whole lot here as well. But the other half of it is naval, as opposed to Next War, which the other half is really ground stuff. The other thing is the time scale is very different. So not just, the map is a different scale. That like each military turn in these games represents several hours, whereas in Next War, a single turn, I think, is like 3 days or 2.5 days or something like that. So it's just a very different system. But like Next War, it is hypothetical in nature. And is meant to represent, or what scenario you're playing is really at maximum only going to represent a couple of days' time. and very fast and deadly encounters of naval and air forces across the South China Sea and the Indian Ocean. And I again, speaking preliminary to it and just the scenario that I played, I liked it. I thought it was neat. I think I can solo play it fairly well. I was sort of getting a handle of like what's the right way to crack this nut in a scenario with I think like the scenario posits that Iran is blocking the straits, and you got to get in there as the U.S. and disrupt that. And it really, it was good to learn the system because you had to think about, how am I going to use basically cruise missiles to try to dampen the surface to air missile coverage that the Iranians have, and then use air supremacy to further suppress their ships, and then use my own ships to do things. And it's a fun exercise in trying to figure out how to apply modern technology or modern force assets together. So looking forward to exploring this more. There is going to be a third game in the series, is my understanding, that will be more like Indonesia and Singapore, and the maps will then all connect. So if you got out the maps for all of this and all of this, and you try to put them together, you would see they're awfully close to connecting, but they don't. But the third game would provide that connection. Presently, there are no scenarios in these two games that like are a joined or a conjoined scenario where you're kind of playing both games at the same time. But I hope with the third game they allow for something like that. I think it would be really cool. It would take up a lot of space, but I've got the space for it and would love to try it out. So cool little games. I appreciate them. I would love to show more of it in time. They are sort of siblings, but they are ultimately a different game than what's it called? Breaking the Chains, which is from the same designer. Breaking the Chains is getting a second edition, which is on pre-order on Compass. I did pre-order that. There are some similarities in the role systems between that game and these two, but they are distinct sort of games, right? And they cover things at a slightly different scale. It just, it's kind of its own game monster situation. So just word to the wise, if you're looking at this and you're seeing Breaking the Chains and what the relationship is, it's like a Venn diagram. There's some areas that are covered by the same stuff, but they do different things different ways in some cases. So anyway, would like to play these for sure. Something that we'll want to take a look at. Now, if you're paying attention to the video, you will notice that I have my box of Reluctant Enemies, and I just sent a piece of paper flying. Reluctant Enemies, a game in the OCS system, and I shit you not, guys. This has been this way for a while. I'm going to adjust the camera so you can. I've got a bunch of World War I posters up in this game room, so that's what you may see on the wall there. I have had Reluctant Enemies set up on this table over here for months, literal months. It has just been set up here. Got all my counter trace stuff. I've got my charts out. Got all this goodness down here. I have had this set up, I'm telling you guys, for months. And my intent was, whoops, too much stuff going around here. Sorry for the shaky cam. Don't get sick. The plan was to play this at the same time I was playing Nations in Arms, and I've still never managed to get the two games at once to work yet with so much going on in my life, but it is set up. So in theory, we should be playing Reluctant Enemies at some point in the near future. It's ready to rock and roll. Now, some people will say Reluctant Enemies maybe is not the best starter OCS game to play, that Tunisia might be better, or Sicily, or Smolensk. All of those are probably valid statements, but I still set this one up because I just had an interest in Operation Exporter as a topic, and it just was like, okay, let's just set it up. And this is part inspiration for that Middle Eastern World in Flames video that I had done a little while back. Some other stuff that I'm looking at. I would really like to play the Solomon Islands Volume 3 of Last 100 Yards. That's something I had picked up, and I, connected with the fact that while I was sick with COVID, I was watching HBO's The Pacific, and that kind of put me in a Pacific swing of wanting to try that. I also have Barbarossa Army Group Center that might be fun to try out on camera. Um, I've also been acquiring games in the Napoleonic Battle series, Library of Napoleonic Battles, with some of the recent restocks of some of these games I've picked up and have been desperately wanting to play them. Technically, Highway to the Kremlin's a different sub-series or pure series, the campaigns of Napoleon, but I got that too. So definitely some stuff that I would like to get on camera and try out. So there's a lot of things that I would like to do. I would like to get the Pacific War on camera. I had gotten that a while ago. I might be waiting around to really dig into that once I get the next issue of C3I, which has some errata counters for Pacific War that I'm told aren't really needed. They're more of like you're really nitpicking, you would use these errata counters. And if I'm going to be punching and taking care of everything with Pacific War, I might as well wait until I can be a nitpicker and just take care of that because I've got plenty of other stuff to enjoy in the meantime. But yeah, so lots of stuff there, guys, for us to enjoy. Sort of backing out. One of these days, we'll do a full sort of shelfie video setup, but not quite prepared for that. You guys can still take a look at everything that's up there. So yeah, there's so much to do and not nearly enough time to do it. It seems like that's always the case. It's much easier to get games than to play them, as folks probably know. And of course, there's a bunch of games on that shelf there that you guys can see, the shelves, I should say, I suppose, that I have played. Like, just because it's on my shelf and you've not seen a video for it, doesn't mean it's unplayed. I've played many of the games on the shelves there, just not on camera. Or they predate my YouTube days, and I just haven't had a good reason to bust them back out because I'm playing all these other things. But yes, there's plenty to check out, see, and do. One of the other things that I may want to look at doing are videos on tabletop role-playing games, because that's something else that's a major interest of mine. But I just don't know if I have enough content that's going to be worth showing on the channel and talking about. So I don't know. If folks are interested in that, we could talk about it. It's just one of those weird things where I don't play in a consistent tabletop RPG group. I haven't for a number of years, so a lot of what I've done is piecemeal one-shots with folks sometimes, or introducing new people to the game, but not really having the wherewithal or the time to run or be involved in a regular campaign group. So it's sort of a weird thing that maybe isn't worth the time compared to war games, which I can enjoy no matter what, and I don't need a group for it, and all the other things that I mentioned. A couple of other things worth talking about that I will be covering on the channel in the near term, hopefully, unless something heavily knocks things sideways, is that in February there is Game On Con, which is a really great local convention, or local-ish, because I live a little bit farther away than I used to. But it is a great convention in the Seattle area that is primarily war game focused, but there's tons of other gaming there. It is my favorite convention. I try to go whenever I can. I am set to go this year. The whole family's going, and we'll be. My wife will be playing some games some days. I'll be playing games on other days because we're going to be with our kiddo. So I won't have probably as much coverage as I did last year, because last year I just went by myself. This year we're all going, so it's going to be a little bit different. But I can tell you what's on the docket as a preview, and I'll do a pre-convention expectations video when we're a little bit closer, so maybe towards the end of this month. But just as a look ahead, I am planning on playing, I think it's called Panzer's Last Stand, which is a Battalion Combat Series game, BCS, from Multiman Publishing. My friend, who I play World in Flames with, picked it up on sale, and he wants to take it to the convention to play it. And so he and I are going to try to play it, or at least get as far as we can get in like a day or a half day's time, which probably won't be much of anything. It's particularly tough because I don't have a copy of the game, so me reading the rules, I'm going to have to go to Vassal and really get a hang of how the game works, because it's going to be sufficiently different from OCS, and I've read the rulebook for OCS, but it's going to be sufficiently different from that and most other things that I'm really going to have to dig deep, but I should have a lot of pictures, hopefully, and maybe some video commentary for that game in the BCS system. Will be interesting to try it out and to play it. And I'm playing with somebody that, I game with regularly, so he and I can, wax poetic over, how the game's working and who's doing what and how well. I am also planning on playing Tunisia 2 in the OCS series with Justiguard. And if you've not been familiar with Justiguard's channel, you can search for that, Justgarde. He does great videos, good guy. Gamed with him. He was my partner for the Mighty Endeavor last year, and I did coverage. He and I both did coverage of our game that we played at Game On last year. So we will be playing Tunisia 2 on one of those days. He is setting it up to be played as like an open table for several days, and so far I haven't seen too many people biting for it yet. But at the very least, we're going to try to play one of the days all day of the convention, and I should have, I'm sure we both will have some video commentary of that at that point. So Tunisia 2, I'm excited. Justin has more experience with OCS than I do, so it'll be probably more of a learning game for me, but again, Tunisia 2's usually recommended as a good learning OCS game. I do have it, so I can kind of pre-game a little bit and go and have fun with that. And then besides those two major ones, I'll probably be playing some Battlestar Galactica, which is always a good time, and potentially other stuff, but it's kind of unknown for now. So I definitely have some things I'm looking forward to. Not sure how it's all going to play out yet at Game On Con, but those are kind of the main things I expect to be playing. So besides Battlestar Galactica, of course, a very Hex Encounter heavy convention plan for me, which is going to be it's going to be great. It's going to be good, I hope. Looking forward to it. So that's kind of what's coming ahead here, guys. I should mention, for those who care, I am still playing World in Flames on a somewhat frequent basis with a couple of guys I've been playing with for a couple of years now, or a few years now, several years, I don't know. And we had just finished up playing Fatal Alliances. We had a Fatal Alliances game going that we restarted a couple of times, and this one we got to like 1916, and I was playing Russia and doing okay, and then my partner was playing the rest of the Entente, and then we had somebody playing the Central Powers, and my buddy in control of the Commonwealth, and France just was having a really bad time with U-boats, and it was like the UK was really getting shafted, and we decided just to call it, and that if we had replayed, a lot of lessons were learned, and then we would play something else, or we would just stop that game and figure out something else. But we're deciding, and this should pick up again in February after Game On Con. We're going back to World War II, World in Flames, and I'll be playing Japan in that case. Italy and Japan. At least that's the plan right now, and we're going to be back to doing the World War II thing. And I've talked about it with a lot on this channel. I've not really done any coverage of the actual games I've been playing in. Some of that because I haven't been playing very well, and who wants to talk about their failures? But maybe this year I'll do a little bit more in talking about, showing what's gone on in the World in Flames game that I'm playing, so you guys can kind of appreciate what else is going on. Again, gaming that I do that is not on the channel. There's a lot of gaming that happens that is just not on this channel. So that'll be picking up again. I will say, for those curious, I think Fatal Alliances is an excellent game. I really would recommend it to any folks that are interested in World in Flames, but also like World War One. It's a really good game for World War One, and in a system that has gone through some paces. I would say, unfortunately, I think Fatal Alliances is going to be hard to find now because I think it's considered out of print. I don't think Compass has any copies, or maybe they do. So if you're interested, I wouldn't wait. I'd try to pick up Fatal Alliances as soon as you can. any other things? This video is getting pretty long. I don't want to make it too much longer. So definitely want to be hitting some more stuff here again and in the near term, guys. I may, as I'm going through Nations in Arms, try to do some small coverage of like last 100 yards. I mentioned that earlier because I think that should play much faster. I might be able to get through like a scenario or two just to demonstrate that game and do some coverage of it while I'm doing other stuff. So rather than eat a big, you know, a big cow in terms of like an OCS game while playing Nations in Arms, I can kind of spit in some smaller stuff, tactical stuff like last 100 yards, which will be a little bit easier. Maybe some of the South China Sea stuff we'll really have to see. There's a lot I want to cover, guys. It's just been so hard. Um, especially with the holidays. I ended up getting a lot of PC gaming in, but we don't really talk about PC games here on the channel. Though I do plenty of that, and it's a different thing, right? For me to come into the game room and record games means I'm leaving other people behind. I'm going off to do my thing in like the cave kind of situation where PC gaming I can kind of do on a laptop in the living room where we're all hanging out, or maybe we're watching a kids movie and I'm kind of dual tasking, watching the movie and playing a game. I played a lot of Baldur's Gate last month, which was fine. It was like I was sick with COVID playing Baldur's Gate. If you're familiar with that game, and I had fun with that. But all that kind of thing goes on in the background. So I've tried to have some fun, but a lot of responsibility. So as I wrap this video up, I'll say 2022 was a fun year, mixed bag of things that had gone on in that year. Grad school being a particularly distracting one that will hold into this year, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. And hopefully, when I break free of the tunnel, you guys will get to see a whole lot more stuff. And we'll be able to play a lot more things on the channel and get more commentary, more feedback, more interaction with folks, and we'll have fun with it, guys. So sorry for the long wait. I'm still alive, I swear. Things are what they are. I know folks sympathize with that, and we'll keep the train going. So happy New Year! I hope you had a good one, and we'll see you hopefully very soon. Take care. Keep on gaming.